Good day, everybody. This is Charles Raether, AmLaw Group Managing Partner. E-2 is one of my favorite visas, and if you've looked at some of our other videos on our channel, please do so, and I tell you why I think it's such a great visa. But they've made some changes recently in what's called the Foreign Affairs Manual, and that's the guide that's used by the consular officers to adjudicate and make decisions about E-2 related matters. And unfortunately, they made these changes without actually giving any kind of notice to anybody. But the changes that they've made are in regards to the validity periods for spouses and children of E-2 applicants. So in the past, how it worked was if you had an appropriate passport, it's not necessary for everybody else in your family to have the same citizenship or passport as you. The main thing is that the investor have a qualifying passport, meaning you have a passport from a country that's in the list of E-2 countries. And they would generally then give the spouse and the children an E-2 visa, regardless of what country citizenship they have, and they would give it for the same period as they would give to the main investor. Now they've changed things, and not for the better of our clients for the most part. How they've changed it is that now if you have, let's say you have a Canadian passport, Canadian citizenship, generally they give those visas for 5 years. Let's say your spouse and children have Chinese passports. You're not eligible for an E-2, but since your spouse or parent is filing for the E-2 and has a Canadian passport, everybody else would be able to get the E-2 for the 5 years as well. Under the new rules, though, they're changing it so that if the spouse or children have a second passport, and that passport is of a country that also has an E-2 treaty, then they will issue the visa only for the duration that's provided for that particular country. So let's say the main investor has a Canadian passport, he gets his E-2 for 5 years. Let's say the wife has a Ukrainian passport. Ukraine is part of the E-2 convention as well, but Ukrainians only get a visa for 90 days. And that's extremely inconvenient, as you can imagine. And Ukrainians aren't the only ones. There's Moldovans, who else? Kyrgyz. I'm trying to think of some other nationalities. They'd only get the visa for 90 days. So now they're changing it so that in the past, your spouse, if he or she was Ukrainian, would have gotten an E-2 for 5 years together with the main applicant. Now they're going to give the visa only for 90 days, which is, as I said, obviously not to the advantage of our clients. Now, if the spouse or the children have a passport of a country that is not in the E-2 list, so let's say China, Russia, India, for example, to name some large countries. If the spouse or children have a passport from one of those countries, then things aren't so bad. They will give you the visa, the E-2 visa, for the same validity period as the main applicant. So in our scenario, Canadian main applicant gets it for 5 years, has an Indian spouse, that Indian spouse would still get the visa for 5 years. So for whatever reason, it's unnecessarily penalizing those who have a passport from another treaty country, but they're not serving as the main investor. Actually, I think it's actually kind of silly because you could have a family then with 3 different validity dates for their visas with very widely varying dates of validity, because you might have the main applicant gets a visa for 5 years, the child might get one for the same period, but the spouse might get something not even close to 5 years, maybe 90 days. I mean, it's just actually kind of crazy, and I can see how that would create havoc with a lot of our clients and investors. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we'll keep you posted on this and any other issues relating to E-2 visas. If you have any specific questions, feel free to leave them here in the comments, or even better yet, sign up for a consultation with us. Again, this was Charles Raether. Look forward to seeing you next time.